What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Nash, and today we're going to be going over a finance resume, which is going to be my resume, which I used to apply to my job right before I graduated. So that was my senior year, which was about May of 2020. So it's not even a year old. So this is a pretty up-to-date resume. It just does not include my current job and also remove the names of the companies that I was working for, just so I don't get sued or anything like that. But other than that, we're gonna go ahead and switch over to the resume so we can just get straight into it. All right, guys, as you can see, this is my actual resume. I did not change anything. So yeah, so you're getting what I used to apply to a bunch of jobs. So one of the main things you should know is that your resume should not be more than a page long. It should never be more than a page long, especially if you're in college, because you don't really have a lot of professional experience, so there's no reason for it to be a page long. Sometimes it is. You have to remove some things and make it a page long. Reducing the size of the font is another way of creating more space to add more things on here without exceeding a page. All right, so on the top here, you can see that I have my name. The name should be the biggest text that's on there. So right below that, I have my phone number and also have my email, and I have my LinkedIn. So this is just to give employers with different ways of contacting you. So they might want to call you or send you an email, and also have the link to my LinkedIn. So this is in case they want to see more things, right? Your resume should be one page, right? If it's one page and you have things that can go to 3, 4, 5 pages, the only way that the employer is going to know is if you add those things to your LinkedIn account, right? Because if they see this and they want to see more, they'll try to find your LinkedIn. And why not just make it easy for them and add your LinkedIn account on here? As you can see, I have my LinkedIn account. I just went ahead and removed the actual link, but this is my LinkedIn. So make sure to add your LinkedIn on there. I think the size of this font is like 10, so you can make it as small as you want as long as it's on there. So the first thing you want to add is going to be your education, because education is what you're going to have the most experience in, right? You've been in school for 3, 4, 5 years. So it should be on the top. Right on top of that, as you can see, I have the name of my college. And below that, I have the name of my degree, right? The college I went to is not an Ivy League school, so it's not that important, right? But what's important is the degree that I got. So as you can see, the degree is highlighted here. It is bold, so it kind of like brings attention to it. Instead of looking at the university that I went to, you're gonna look at the degree, which is a Bachelor of Business Administration and Finance. And right next to it, I also have the expected graduation. This is really important when it comes to when you're applying for jobs, right? If you're still in college, if you're about to graduate, so they know, when they can offer you a start date, or if they are willing to hire you, maybe you are graduating too late or too early. One of the main things I don't have here is my GPA, right? So one of my recommendations is that if your GPA is below a 3.2, there's really no need to add your GPA on here unless it's, higher than the 3.2, then it's just going to add to your resume. So if you have a 2 point something, it's just going to hurt your chances of, they're going to look at your resume. The first thing they see is the education. They see a 2.7 GPA, they're going to throw it to the side. So if it's below 3.0 or 3.2, just don't add it on here. So moving on, we're going to go to the experience here. So what you want to do with this is on the first line right here, this is the first line. You want to have the job title first, right? Because the name of the company doesn't matter. So don't ever put that first, because, no one really cares about it. They want to care about what you were doing. So as you can see, I have accounting coordinator. And this is supposed to be the name of the company, but it's blacked out just because I don't want to get in trouble or anything like that. And you also have the name of the city and state, right? Just in case they want to know, like, where were you working? And on the far right side, on my right, you're going to see that I have the duration of when I started and when I finished. So from October 2019 to March 2020. You can just put the month and the year. That's it. So right below it, you can see that I have 3 different bullet points, which is what I recommend. Don't put 5 or 6. No one wants to read all that, especially if they're going through hundreds of resumes and you have like 10 bullet points for each experience that you have. They're not going to go through that. They're just going to throw it away. So try to limit it to 3, maybe 4. 5 is pushing it, but 3 is great. And you can see that these are either 1 sentence or 2 sentences, right? So the first sentence is like, I completed bank reconciliations, created invoices, and collecting on overdue accounts. This is 3 different things that I added in 1 sentence, but it makes sense. So your goal should be to add as much information in 1 sentence or 2 sentences. If you go to 3, then you're just pushing it. My second one here, as you can see, it has 2 lines, which is okay. Just don't go to 3 or 4. Then at that point, you're just rambling. And for the next one, you can see that I was a financial financial analyst assistant or intern, and the name of the company is on here, and then the city, state, and then the duration, which was summer 2019. And you can see here I have about two lines on here, and then one line. And so on some of these, you do want to be as specific as possible if you're talking about technical things, right? If you're talking about things that require more specific information, right? So if I go to, if you look on this one, the second line, I was working on the monthly and quarterly budgets, and I was working on actual reports. I was also working on doing some analysis. I also specified that I was doing this for 17 different business segments for this company, which kind of like gives the person that's reading a perspective, right? So if you just say you're working on a budget, they're going to assume, okay, you worked on one budget. But if you specify that you're doing this for 17 different business segments, then they kind of like have an idea, oh, you're doing 17 different budgets or whatever you're doing. But so sometimes you do want to be specific. You want to use numbers. You want to use something that's tangible, something that's going to make someone have the perspective of your perspective. All right, so going down a little more, you can see that I was a resident assistant. This was a job I had at the university that I went to, and it is in San Antonio. And I also have the duration, which was from August 2017 to June 2019. So as you can see, even though for this job I could add a lot of things, I kind of like just added 3 lines, which kind of like sums up everything. Just try to include as much as you can in one sentence to where you don't have to turn that into 5 different sentences, or 5 different bullet points. And for the second one here, I also worked as a fiscal services intern, which was pretty much like finance, but in the fiscal services department. And one of the main things you want to do if you're working with, jobs in finance and you're using maybe SAP, which is one of the biggest softwares that is used in business. So if you're using any part of it, you also want to include this in your resume, which is the first thing I did, right? You can see here, I said SAP NetWeaver accounts payables and receivables, right? Because I want them to know that I have exposure to this software, which is one of the biggest things you could do in finance. Knowing Microsoft Excel, knowing a bunch of different programs that I used in finance. So whenever you have a job that allows you to have that experience, you always want to make sure that you add that on there, maybe on your first line, so they see. For this job, I was doing a lot of data entry, so I wanted to really specify exactly what I was doing. So if you look on the second line here, it says I processed over 50 purchase orders and vendor invoices to maintain an up-to-date system while identifying blah blah blah, right? The second one, I verified over 200 city vendors that had this and that. And I also say that I did this in SAP, right? So whoever's reading, they're going to know that this kid has used SAP before, and this is what he was doing in it. So he's probably familiar with this and that. And for the last one here, I actually worked as a library assistant my freshman year of college, and that was back in August of 2016. And, for this, I tried to be as, specific as I can. There isn't really much you can put for jobs like this that are not finance related. So don't feel obligated to add, things like a resident assistant or being a library assistant, even though it's going to help you. If it doesn't fit on the page, there's no need to add that on your resume. All right, so other than that, so that's your experience, right? You might have 2 or 3 things. I have a lot of things on here, but you might have 2 or 3 things, which is fine. If you have 2 or 3 things, you can add more bullet points. So if you go below the experience, we have professional development, right? For my professional development, I have 1 thing on there. You have the college name, city and state. You have the title here of what the professional development thing was, right? For this, it was a conference that I attended. So you don't need to add, a lot of description when it comes to this. You can just put 1 line on there. So this one says participated in a conference that I aim to promote leadership skills within students, right? So they know that I'm involved with, these leadership conferences. For the next one, we have leadership and activities, right? So for this one, this is going to be if you're in any organizations, if you're in any, anything really, and you had a leadership position, right? And, what you were doing. This is really important because sometimes you might only have 2 experiences, right? Maybe you had 2 internships, and all this information here, like the professional development, leadership and activities, that's going to take the majority of your resume. You want to make sure that you have good things to put on there. So for myself, you're going to see that I was in Alpha Kappa Psi Co-ed fraternity, which is a professional business fraternity. And within that fraternity, you can see that if I go here, I was actually president, and I was also the vice president of finance. And, this is kind of like a timeline of what you were doing, right? So I started as VP of finance. As you can see here, I tried to be really specific. I said I managed over $6,000 in funds for the chapter. And after that, I was actually president. president, and I was the face of the fraternity with over 40 members. Try to be really specific with this because sometimes I might not even know what you're doing in that position. So you kind of like want to give them a perspective. You don't have to be super detailed. We just want to give them a little perspective of what you were doing. As you can see, I was also part of the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization, and I served as the president. And for the last one, I was in the Investment Society, and my position was a junior analyst, and for the energy sector. Now, if you're applying to jobs that are not familiar with the stock market, they might not even know what that is. What is a junior analyst? That's why you need to add these little descriptions. So for mine, I said conducted research using market data in the energy sector of the market to develop trading ideas. So this kind of like sums it up for you. So now you know, okay, basically what he was doing a lot of research in the energy sector in order to buy and sell stocks. All right, so for the last one, you have skills and interests, right? So this is going to be some of your skills. If you have certifications, or if you have maybe some skills that you just didn't put up there, you can put those in a list. And some of the things that interest you, you can put your hobbies on here. So for me, what I did was, I kind of like grouped these into two different things, right? So I have computer advanced proficiency, which is going to be QuickBooks. If you watch my previous video, I did a whole video on how to use QuickBooks, Microsoft Office Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, and intermediate proficiency. Now, this is, something that I know how to do, but I'm not like an expert or super expert, but I know how to use it. We have Microsoft Excel, we have Microsoft Access, SAP, and Bloomberg. And on the bottom, I have affiliation, some of the organizations that I'm affiliated with. So the only reason I add this is I was in a business professional fraternity, which is Alpha Kappa Psi. And a lot of business professionals have been in that fraternity. So most of the time, if a hiring manager is looking at your resume and they were part of your organization, back in the day, which happened to me one time, when they see your affiliations, maybe they were in the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organizations back in the day, that's going to give you an advantage over somebody that is not affiliated with that organization. So that is one reason why you should be adding your affiliations. Don't add anything, that's random and something that is not professional. Always add, something that's going to benefit you, not something that's going to hurt you. But that is pretty much it when it comes to creating a finance resume. If there were no designs, that's because people in finance, they're numbers people. They like looking at data, not designs, not colors on your resume. So it's just stick to the basics. Don't add any flowers or any, just leave it like that. That's the way to do it. Don't try to add any extra designs. We like looking at data. But that is pretty much it. Let me know if you guys have any questions. But that is pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.